Right now it's 82 degrees in our fair city, and compare that to 48 degrees in the upper northwest and 38 degrees in the Middle East.
It seems very innocent, the daily report of weather and temperatures, but climate deniers can see beneath the facade.
Don't you see him? What do you mean? Evil! Pure and simple from the 8th dimension!
That's right. Behind the friendly weatherman, a secret government plotting to make you believe in global warming. One man stands in the way of this insidious conspiracy. Anthony Watts, a humble meteorologist at a California radio station dedicated to nothing more than reporting fair and balanced news. Through careful and painstaking detective work, fearlessly uncovering the climate change plot.
I want to introduce you now to Anthony Watts, meteorologist at KP in California. Anthony, good to talk to you. I know you were on the radio program today. We had a fascinating conversation, and these pictures are up on the website. But real quick, what did you do and what did you find?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm investigating weather stations around the United States. The United States NOAA uses 1,221 weather stations spaced all around the United States as their official climate recording stations. And what I'm doing, along with a group of volunteers, is going around and examining these stations to find out what exactly is the measurement environment in which the temperatures are being measured.
Right, to make sure
That's what the project is about.
Okay.
In his investigations, the plucky Mr. Watts has teased out the secrets of the weather stations that the U.S. government has relied upon for daily temperature data. Some of these weather stations, according to Watts, may be unreliable. The U.S. Historical Climatology Network has 1,221 stations around the country. Mr. Watts has recruited a nationwide network of volunteers, kind of a junior woodchuck society of camera-toting climate sleuths, making a record of weather stations across the country. Some of these stations may be sited in such a way as to give inaccurate readings due to proximity to buildings, air conditioners, and concrete. The Surface Station Project has compiled a list of those stations that volunteer investigators feel do not meet published standards. If temperature data is incorrect, according to this reasoning, then perhaps climate models and predictions are tainted and unreliable as well. In June of 2009, Mr. Watts published his findings in a document titled, "Is the U.S. Surface Temperature Record Reliable?" Interestingly, the book was published under the auspices of the Heartland Institute, a think tank based in Chicago, and dedicated, according to the webpage, to free market principles. The Institute has a fascinating list of clients and associations, and interestingly, a long history of advocacy for the tobacco industry. Recently, Heartland's president Joseph Bast published a book of essays on taxes and regulations of the tobacco industry, enigmatically titled, "Please Don't Poop in My Salad." The Institute states that defending smokers is a thankless task, but somebody has to do it. And though it may be thankless, judging by the well-funded activities of the Institute, it is apparently not unprofitable. In recent years, Heartland has expanded its scope from advocating one death-dealing industry to yet another.
The Heartland Institute's International Conference of Climate Change, Climate Change, Climate Change, Climate Change.
Heartland has been a primary facilitator for a lavish initiative to distort and obfuscate the science of global warming. Following the publication of Mr. Watts' book, scientists at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, whose integrity was being attacked, felt compelled to respond. NOAA scientists acknowledged that some weather station sighting does not conform to published standards, and that some temperature readings may be affected by those variations. The original network of surface stations was not deployed with climate change in mind, but rather to monitor day-to-day local changes in weather. The agency states that adjustments are made to temperature data to compensate for deficiencies at particular sites. At the same time, NOAA points out that absolute temperatures at a given station are not as important as how those temperatures change over time. In response to the demands of climate science, the government has created a new network of stations, the Climate Reference Network, that is sited in remote locations unaffected by urban sprawl. In order to test the validity of Mr. Watt's accusations, the NOAA scientists made a comparison of temperature trends using Mr. Watt's data. Two graphs were plotted using the same technique. One analysis was for the full data set of 1,221 U.S. weather stations. The other used only the 70 stations that Mr. Watts and his volunteers classified as good or best. If climate denier theories are correct, the temperatures at the optimally sited stations should be markedly different from the data as a whole. In fact, the curves show virtually no difference. That's right. Even using the cherry-picked stations listed in Watt's publication, the data, according to the leading scientists at NOAA, shows no evidence of distortion. It's important to recognize that climate change models incorporate much more than data from U.S. weather stations, which, after all, cover less than 2% of the planet's surface. In fact, some of the most compelling data does not come from thermometers at all, but from the natural world itself. Gardeners know that growing seasons and zones have changed markedly in recent decades. Steadily rising temperatures have dramatically affected ice cover on lakes and rivers. Recently, scientists from NASA published an important peer-reviewed study of global biological markers. From across the planet, more than 29,000 sets of natural rhythms were collected, compiled, and compared. Biological indicators such as the migration of birds, the blooming of flowers, the migration and spawning of fish, the dates of mountain snowmelt, and the peak flow of glacier-fed streams. Of the 29,000 data sets, 90% of the observed changes were in a direction expected as a response to warming. The lesson here is that birds, lakes, rivers, fish, and glaciers have no political agenda. But climate deniers and their wealthy sponsors do.
And the very same people who told you that weapons of mass destruction were real are telling you that climate change is not. We'll never know the answers to all the questions about climate. But what real scientists are telling us is that climate change is real, we're doing it, the consequences are dire, and we need to stop. Thanks again for listening to this week's Climate Denial Crock of the Week.